The federal court has dismissed the appeal of the What is a Woman ruling, known as, all outsiders knows, the Giggle versus Tickle case. The transgender woman, biological male, Roxanne Tickle, first sued Giggle for Girls as an app, founder Sal Grover, after Tickle was barred from the women-only app in 2021. The ruling was upheld under the Sex-Discrimination Act. So Sal Grover's appeal was dismissed and Roxanne Tickle's cross-appeal was allowed.
I'm very pleased by the outcome of my case, and I hope that it assists trans and gender diverse people and their loved ones to heal. The court found unanimously that I was unlawfully directly discriminated against. The ruling clearly reinforces what the Australian community stands for, that all women are protected from discrimination by law. Trans women, cis women, lesbian women, queer women, straight women, First Nations women, women of colour, migrant women, women with disabilities, all women.
Joining us now is Giggle CEO Sal Grover. Sal, great to see you. I was stunned on Friday when this came through. I know you were not very happy. Tell us about it.
Well, it is a bright, cold day in Australia and the clock has struck 13 and men can now be women. I mean, this is something that even Orwell didn't dare imagine, and we are actually living it. And if you so much as challenge it, you will be punished. So I think it is an absolutely terrifying decision and a reality for all Australians to be faced with.
Rita.
How did it feel to sit in court and to hear a judge refer to this person as she, her, respecting those pronouns? Just tell me about your emotions throughout that day. And were you shocked by the result? Because at the end of the day, given the changes Julia Gillard made to the legislation, I think in many ways this was expected.
When you hear a person, whether it is a judge or a politician, call a man she, you are seeing how willing they are to lie to you. And so it is very chilling to see how easily our judiciary and our politicians will lie to citizens. I personally will never call a man she, and there's nothing on this planet that will ever make me do it. This is an activist-led decision, and I think that the judiciary is captured by ideology, and I can prove it. In this decision, it is constantly referring to cisgender and transgender. Those words don't appear in the Sex Discrimination Act. So when the judges say the law made them do this, they are lying. The law did not make them do this. It was a choice. It is the activist-led Australian Human Rights Commission's interpretation of the Sex Discrimination Act that men can be women. It is not fact. And for law, which is supposed to like evidence, there is no evidence that men are women.
James.
Sal, the law here that this is all based on came about under the prime ministership, the government of Julia Gillard. Angus Taylor, the opposition leader, has indicated that if they are elected, they would do something to fix this law. But the coalition had 9 years in power when they failed to fix it. If you're going to gauge the politics of this for a moment, how much faith do you have in the parliamentary process and the democratic process? Because I think my sense is most Australians, a large majority of Australians probably, would be on your side on this one. And yet our political system doesn't seem to be able to create that sort of common sense outcome.
Yeah, I mean, Julia Gillard, it has to be noted, has dined out for the better part of the past decade on being the first woman prime minister in Australia. And I will say this, I will not be lectured on misogyny by that woman. Because while she was there, being the first woman prime minister, her government put the groundwork to make this happen. Now, this issue is not even an 80-20 issue. This is like a 99-1 issue. If the opposition government is welcome to the party, where have you been? But it is not good enough to say, if we are elected, we will do something about this. Let's put that into perspective. Maybe in 2 years, they will maybe do something. Now, there are girls in school right now who are not drinking water during the day so they don't have to use the bathroom because there are boys in it. They don't have those years to wait. It is a problem happening right now. What politicians should do is go into Parliament and say, we need to have legislation that reflects reality, and we need to do it immediately. Make the current government explain why they won't do it. Make the government explain why women and girls cannot have rights. Make them explain why men can be women. Force them to say it. Don't force us to have to do this fight and raise millions and millions of dollars to do your work. If you can't do it, then you are incompetent and you shouldn't be there.
Well, I recall opposition leader Anthony Albanese shortly before he became Prime Minister saying a woman is an adult human female. He was asked the question, what is a woman? And he answered it correctly. And now we have him doing nothing about this. Is this a problem just within Labor and the Greens, or is this also a problem amongst the Liberal Party, Sal? Because we have had even the Deputy Liberal leader vote against measures to have an inquiry, for example, into so-called gender-affirming care. So do you see this as a problem that exists amongst both major parties?
100%. We have had many politicians from any party dismiss this issue as a culture war. But they didn't dismiss it as a culture war when the men were forcing their way in and wanted the laws changed to be able to get in or to be classed as a woman in law. That wasn't dismissed then. What is being dismissed as a culture war is women fighting back and men fighting back as well on behalf of their wives and daughters and nieces and friends, whoever it is. Look, at the end of the day, Australians are being punished, whether it's Dr. Gillian Spencer or Andrew Amos, who are being removed from their medical positions for speaking out against this ideology. Or there's Jasmine Sussex, who is being dragged through tribunals right now for saying that men who claim to be women cannot breastfeed. Think that through for a second. We have Kiralee Smith, who has been fined over $95,000 for highlighting that there are men playing in women's sports teams. We're being punished while politicians sit there going, oh, it's just a culture war. Well, it's not a culture war to the Australian Human Rights Commission, and it's not a culture war to the federal court because they've just taken it seriously. So politicians now have to do something.
And Sal, you mentioned the Human Rights Commission there a couple of times. They backed Tickle in this. They didn't come to support your human rights. I would have thought their job was to support your human rights. What should be done about the Human Rights Commission? Is it a complete joke, a kind of left-wing farce? Where is your help? Where are your human rights? More importantly, where are the human rights of every single young girl and woman in Australia?
Exactly. In Lesbian Action Group's case, which there was a decision on that just a few weeks ago, the judge there actually reminded the Australian Human Rights Commission that they have to think about people's rights beyond gender ideology, that they can't just focus on this one group, that there are other people in this country, such as women and lesbians. At the moment, it is a completely ideologically captured organization, so there is no use for it. If you challenge this organisation, they will come for you. That's how this started for me. It started with an Australian Human Rights Commission complaint. They were never on my side then. During the actual hearings, they sat on Tickle's side. They sat with him. They're supposed to be neutral amicus curiae. They've never behaved in a neutral manner. It's completely unethical. I'm also a citizen. I am supposed to have rights and I'm supposed to have human rights. So when they walk out of court and saying this is a great win for equality, where's my equality? I'm being discriminated against right now, as are all women and girls on the basis of sex.
100%. Sal Grover, you're absolutely correct. All women in Australia, girls, women, lesbians, are all having their human rights trampled over. You're a fighter. You're fighting for them. You and others, some of them you've mentioned, Catherine Deves, others are fighting. Carry on fighting for the women and girls of Australia. Carry on, Sal. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank every politician who is actually finally speaking up about this issue. So that includes Angus Taylor, Michaelia Cash, Pauline Hanson, everyone who is now finally coming out and saying that something needs to be done. Women like myself have been yelling into the abyss for years in this country, saying that our rights have been completely destroyed. And for far too long, we were told that it was just a culture war. We were called transphobes, we were called bigots, we were called TERFs, right-wing, anything to try and silence us and get us to go away. But the reality is this has never been a culture war. The federal court never treated it as a culture war, nor did the Sex Discrimination Commission, who took it very seriously. And in 2013, when the amendments were changed, they didn't tell people then it's a culture war, no, we're not going to do anything. Laws were changed then. It's an amendment. You can change it again. If you can't, you might need a dictionary. We don't want to take rights away from anybody. It's never been about that. But no man has ever had the right to go into a female-only space. To change laws to say that men can now go into female-only spaces puts women in the position of having no legal recourse to re-establish what the Sex Discrimination Act was set out to achieve. So I would like to know, is it the Labor government's position that the 2013 amendments were brought in to exclude the very demographic, women, which the Act was created to protect? Women and girls need protections in law. We need accuracy in law and reality in law. And the girls currently going to school who are not drinking water because they don't want to use the bathroom because there are boys in it, they don't have time to wait. They're not going to care what political party does this, who fixes it. They just want it fixed. And that's my position as well. I would really just like this issue fixed as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
Well, the threats to freedom of speech that we talked about during the same-sex marriage campaign back in 2017, which we were ridiculed for, have well and truly come to fruition. I've just spent a couple of hours supporting my friend Kirralie Smith in the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Kirralie, for those who may not know, called out biological males playing soccer in women's soccer teams. She was sued. She lost. She was found guilty of vilifying these blokes who were playing soccer against women, and she was ordered to pay $95,000 in damages. She appealed, and her appeal is being heard behind me right as we speak in the New South Wales Supreme Court. We've lost freedom of speech in this country, folks. If you can't call out the obvious in a soccer match where girls and women are potentially endangered, then we've lost a very precious right of freedom of speech. And I'm ashamed of our country. We've just been through the Sal Grover case, similar thing where she was found guilty of discriminating against a biological male, Roxanne Tickle. My lawyers will be in court again this Wednesday, this time in the Queensland Supreme Court, with a 2 to 3 hour hearing. I've been sued by drag queens for saying they are dangerous role models for children because they promote gender fluid ideology and radical LGBTIQA plus sexual expressionism to 2 to 8 year olds. I mean, these are dangerous role models. We have to be free to say that, but we've lost those freedoms as a result of rainbow political activism and weak and woke politicians who have been too scared to stand up to them. So it's a real worry. One of the takeouts from today's hearings for Kirralie is that the judge is compelling even Kirralie's lawyers to use the preferred pronouns of these biological males. Now, it goes without saying, these pronouns do not match biological gender. They do not match scientific reality, and yet they are being compelled. It's the line from, the super progressive movie, "You will respect my pronouns." This is a form of fascism that's being enforced in Australia, and it's wrong. And we've lost our freedoms, folks. And Kirralie's there fighting. I'll be fighting again on Wednesday for freedom of speech. There's no end in sight for the lawfare that's been brought against those of us who want to exercise the freedom of speech, which we warned would be lost if we redefined the natural definition of marriage, which is what our country foolishly did at the behest of leading Liberals like Malcolm Turnbull and others. So we need to change the politics in this country. The courts are important to defend, but we're losing in the courts. We need a political decision. We need a political solution, and that means electing people to Parliament who will fight for the truth and who will fight for freedom of speech. And at the moment, we don't have very many champions of that at all. Anyway, thanks. We'll keep you updated. I'll keep you updated on my case as well throughout the week.
This issue is not even an 80-20 issue. This is like a 99-1 issue. If the opposition government is welcome to the party, where have you been? But it is not good enough to say if we are elected, we will do something about this. Let's put that into perspective. Maybe in 2 years, they will maybe do something. Now, there are girls in school right now who are not drinking water during the day so they don't have to use the bathroom because there are boys in it. They don't have those years to wait. It is a problem happening right now. What politicians should do is go into Parliament and say, we need to have legislation that reflects reality. And we need to do it immediately. Make the current government explain why they won't do it. Make the government explain why women and girls cannot have rights. Make them explain why men can be women. Force them to say it. Don't force us to have to do this fight and raise millions and millions of dollars to do your work. If you can't do it, then you are incompetent and you shouldn't be there. This issue is not even an 80-20.